Welcome to Malvern Books. Today is the book launch for the White Monkey Chronicles, and before Isabella Ides takes the stage, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Born under the Hollywood sign, Isabella Ides was abducted by life, packed in a suitcase, and dropped off in Texas. She launched as a poet in Austin, and then as a playwright in Dallas. Now, with the launch of White Monkey Chronicles, she's relishing her latest reincarnation as a novelist. Thank you so much, and welcome.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you, Malvern, for being such a sweet store. Thank you, Eloda, and Marco, and Katie, and Lindsay for helping me spread the word about White Monkey. December 1st. It's Nativity month. So I'm kind of thinking about this as my O Holy Night reading. There's a very special divine infant in the world of White Monkey Chronicles. He is a boy with issues. He's complex. He's a complex divinity. His dad is the famous bachelor biblical Jew of the Bible. You know the one. We're not supposed to say his name. He doesn't like it, so we won't. His mother is the Hindu deity, Sita, the very married Sita. And so here's the issue of an illicit affair. So we start out with a multicultural bastard, really. And on top of that, his skin is blue. So, yes, he's got issues. There's only one character in the novel that really understands his origin issues, and that is the white monkey. So, picture the infinite furry arms of this monkey flying around the world looking for a safe haven for the infant. And he will find one sort of safe. The haven is in Humboldt County, California. There is a rogue order of nuns there. The unsafe part is in the world of White Monkey. There is also a great church. And who wants an extra deity? Not the great church, that's for certain. So that's the unsafe part. So I started, so this is, yes, a spiritual, nativity, mischievous, outside of the box. I'm thinking of this quote from Salman Rushdie. And he says, if you can't take the story and deconstruct it and reconstruct it and revise it and play with it and joke with it, then you're not free to have your own thoughts. Your mind has been colonized by the story, the way the culture gave it to you. So, in a way, my novel is an act of decolonization. It's freeing up that space. There's kind of like this question at the back of the impulse to write the novel. And, okay, so I'm born into a world in which all of the major religions are the creations of men. And what can I do as one small person with these hundreds of years of these religions established? And so in my mind, I get, well, this one act that I can commit is this act of spiritual disruption, this thought experiment. And so I worked on this for about 5 years, and then at the end of that 5 years, I had this beautiful, fat, weighty book, and I wondered what kind of a book I had written. How do you fit it into any of the categories that there are? You gotta assign your book categories, and this is really baffling to me. It was a little easier to do the exercise that they ask everybody to do with their work these days, and that is compress it into one sentence. And so the sentence that I've been using recently, it's changed over time, is this is the story of a rogue order of nuns who are raising an undocumented deity. You know, he's got no patents of divinity, no badges, and I love that word undocumented just because it is so evocative of borders, crossing borders. Okay, so I'm going to leave that idea for a second, and I'm going to get back to it, although I never know where my mind is going to go exactly. Yes, okay, so I was looking for the category to fit my novel into, and I put 3 words into the search engine of the computer: postmodern, utopian, and feminist. Click. Well, there's a book called Postmodern Utopias and Feminist Fictions. Okay? So I'm like, oh, all right. So I read this book. It's a book of literary criticism written just a couple years ago. And it was like I found my group, my literary cousins, and the strands of literary DNA that I share with other writers. Toni Morrison of Paradise would be one. Octavia E. Butler, especially The Parable of the Sower, would be another. Actually, I thought of a man in the group too, Cory Doctorow, his work Walk Away. Okay, so what are some of the things we share? This strand of literary DNA. It's our utopias have porous boundaries. I really like that. That really, yes, I go, I get it. And this idea that it means, okay, I'm going to go at this backwards. It means you can get out, for one thing. Okay? And you go, okay, that's cool, because if you can't get out, it's a dystopia by definition. And this concept just like flipped like dominoes through my mind back into history, and I thought about Plato's Republic, and I went, oh, okay, dystopia. You can't get out. All the rules are assigned. It doesn't change over time. There's no fluidity there. And that's one of the shared aspects of postmodernist feminist and Cory Doctorow utopian fiction is that there's an evolving edge to it. So in the world of White Monkey, by the time we get to the end of the book, the community is radically altered, completely changed, and the idea is that there's no end. Okay, so it's almost, it ends on a new beginning. All right, so I share that. So, as well as, you're welcome in. There's a welcome in. That boundary is porous. And this idea that I love of radical hospitality. And so what more radical act of hospitality could you commit than to welcome a stranger God? I go, okay, yeah, all right, these are my sister writers. And so I found my group in a way. Let's see, where did I want to go with this? Just give me a minute. It'll return to me. I want to get back to my book. Okay. So, when we first meet the sisters, the deep background is that they have experienced a failed utopia. They had a renaissance, it was beautiful, and when we meet them, the order has been decimated by prayer eaters and a persecution of cardinals. There's only 3 nuns left. They are all wounded spiritual warriors. Mother Mary Extraordinary, who's 150 years old, and her white hair goes all the way down to her ankles, and Sister Mary Berry, who's kind of keeping herself buoyed up with the help of the wonderful collection of vintage wines in the cellar. And then there's Sister Mary Subordinary, with whom I open chapter 1. She has, you could say, the mind with the most porous boundaries. Although, because we meet her in this wounded state, she's doing her best to keep the gates up. Just her mind orderly. She's the one that is the most earthed, and she's going to make the soup and bake the bread and leave that world, that magical world that once was, in the past. I'll say a few words about Mother Mary Extraordinary, because I really love her and she doesn't get to be in the reading. I love this character, this idea of the wounded visionary. She's a person who had a great vision and a task that she assigned herself, that she was going to complete in her earth existence, and so she experiences herself as a failed incarnation. And I really love writing that character because I love the way all of us are shaped by unlived lives. Lives that we planned to have, but we didn't have, but still they remain really potent part of shaping who we are. So there's Mother Mary Extraordinary. But now I will read Sister Mary Subordinary. We meet her. There's a preface, which I'm going to skip. I got to get my glasses. I can't skip the glasses. And I'm going to, this is book 1, Humboldt County. All 3 books are in the book. Chapter 1, The Monkey Blinked. Hands are a little shaky. Sister Mary Subordinary polished the canted bay window until the glass disappeared. Then, dust rag in hand, she stepped back and watched the blizzard white out the woods. After 60 years of practice, Sister was on the brink of achieving immaculate mind. She pictured herself inside a snow globe, everything cool and clean and absolved in the mesmerizing swirl, a black plastic figurine at peace with the muted world, she waited for the last tiny flake to settle at her feet. The little straggler never completed its journey. A leap of snow outside on the lawn split her attention. The meditation crashed. The snow globe tipped over. Sister almost said, "Damn it." Instead, she shook her dust rag at the unruly world. "Snow does not leap," she mildly reproved, and then she brushed off the tingle of a premonition and straightened her sleeves. Let the others believe in extraordinary events. She preferred to keep her thoughts tidy, her whisk broom at the ready. So she simply whisked. And with that executive whisk, she decided she had not seen a clump of snow spring suddenly upwards. Then she tucked the unwanted image in a drawer labeled illusions. The phrase snow blindness drifted through her mind and banked there. The chill lent a satisfying numbness to a part of her conscience that had been bothering her since yesterday's visit from the magisterium, the dreaded inquisitional arm of the great church. Staring into the infinite white had stopped time, blotted out yesterday's sheaf of grievances, the red delegation of cardinals, their strange gifts, the bruise of their boot prints on the pristine crust of snow, all of that so beautifully obliterated in the silent night. All of that so carefully occluded from the snow globe meditation. Bliss is a brief address. There it goes. This time she spoke out loud. This time the clump launched 15 feet upwards and landed on the branch of a neighboring tree. "Stop misbehaving," she admonished the strange snow, aware that she could no more boss the weather than she could boss her own thoughts. The snowfall itself was an anomaly. It never snowed in Humboldt County. A stray notion shuttled by. Perfect weather for Godfall. No, it is perfectly not. She stopped herself, surprised by her vehemence and embarrassed that there was no one on the other side of the conversation. She lowered her voice to a prayerful whisper. "I must not lose my mind." So we'll leave her there for a minute on the verge of not losing her mind. She is going to have a flashback that I'm going to skip over, much like we all get lost in the past, and she does get lost in the past. And we'll pick her back up here. The red flashback shut Sister Subordinary so completely out of the day, she forgot all about the mystery unfolding on the other side of the perfectly polished glass, where the world resembled nothing so much as a glittering holiday card. Reach out, sister. Open the card. A disconsolate Mary Subordinary was about to turn away from the window when another movement caught her eye. This time, the curious white clump tumbled out of a tree and scampered across the snow-covered lawn, and didn't it just move swift as you please? As soon as it hit the ground, so much for tidy minds. She had better investigate this anomalous and unruly snow. Her job was to set things to rights. Sister walked briskly to the double wooden doors and shoved them open. On a white, sheathed world, a moment of grace. The scene was empty of cardinals. A gust of snow flurries blew back her black veil. She let the delicious cold wet her cheeks. Or was she crying? She'd be the first to deny it, and yet the relief of letting the tears spill unseen was oddly uplifting. She never knew what made her look down. An ordinary cardboard box sat on the marble floor of the porte cochere, almost touching the polished toes of her black boots. She barely had time to register the curious fact that the cardboard was dry when she was startled by a soft mewling sound coming from inside the box. Unconsciously, she reached for her prayer beads. An Ave hesitated on her lips as she bent for a closer look. That first glimpse of the blue baby knocked the soul right out of her. She had to grab her runaway soul from the very air and press it firmly back into her chest. This baby's skin was not the bruised cyanotic blue of death. This baby was sky blue, lit from within like a computer screen. This baby was all effulgence. My sweet Lord, what in the world? There was a white monkey in the box with the baby, a stuffed white monkey, she assured herself. Its furry arms wrapped around the luminescent infant. A scampering clump of snow raced across Sister Subordinary's memory and jumped into the box. Was that possible? In her entire sublunary existence, this was the most baffling collusion of images that had ever slipped over the threshold of her exceptional mind. With so many impossibilities occurring simultaneously, the sensory data refused to resolve, and so she cannot be blamed for not reaching out immediately and scooping up the babe into her rescuing arms. The narrative part of her brain was stuck on pause. For a moment, the story simply would not move forward. It was when the monkey caught her eye and blinked that Sister Subordinary came back to herself, as if called home from a distant moon. She reached for the infant, and the monkey let go. Smiling, she lifted what proved to be a naked boy. The fat blue baby had a tag tied to his ankle, an ordinary cardstock tag with a white cotton string knotted through one of the silver links in his anklet of charms. The boy kicked and laughed, and the air was charged with the tinkling of silver bells. Sister Subordinary held him high and watched the universe dance on the baby's tongue. Time dissolved, and a great translucent drool suspended from the boy's chin considered whether or not to fall. Right then and there, the baby spoke. Either out loud or in Sister Subordinary's mind. She could never be certain, but the words themselves were clear and certain. Earth is the best place for love. Then a great silence followed, not another word, until the boy was 7 years old. As time passed, Sister Subordinary would give the boy's first words an occasional once-over with her feather duster. The best place for love compared to what other place? She flicked a dust mote from the word love, or did the infant mean the best place to invent love? She ran her duster over the word earth, or had he come in search of love? She stood back and inspected the tidied up sentence at a distance. Earth is the best place for love. Perhaps she was making too much of it. Maybe the infant had merely echoed a stray phrase picked up from an itinerant angel who had witnessed a fat blue infant tumble from his mother's arms and fall through the heavens. The angel might have whispered in the babe's ear and with a gentle shove changed the trajectory of the fall. There was no telling. So the phrase earned a place in Sister's Museum of Spiritual Mysteries. So, I'm going to just say what I love about her mind, and then I'm going to close with, I want you to hear how the sisters pray, because this is an O Holy Night reading. What I love about her mind is that she enlivens the question. What's fascinating to me is when you answer the question, you kill it. But she keeps all the possibilities alive, and she is revolving them. And so she has that utopian mind with the evolving edge, the creative edge that keeps changing. And sometimes I know this book is hard for people to enter because they want to know what happens next. But sometimes what happens next in my novel is an action of mine. And I like to stay with those moments. Something always happens next. But it's not what we expect, not always what we want in a literary novel. We're tricky that way. Okay. So, right. I want you to hear how the sisters pray. I call this poem the Litany of the Infants. And one of the things that the book wants to valorize is the idea of the many and move away from the one and only. The one and only truth, the one and only divinity, the one and only son, the one and only daughter. So this is how the sisters pray. The infants come on fresh beds of hay, on sterile hospital sheets, down dark Calcutta streets, on the back seats of taxi cabs, on the beds of Mack trucks. They come in woodshed and chateau, in barn and bordello, on the snow belt and Bible belt, on the green veldt and parched plains of Africa. They huddle in refugee camps, in quarantine villages. They set sail in Moses baskets, afloat on the Nile, launched from Bodrum, from the shores of Vietnam, from the banks of the Rio Grande. They come in the Red Cross hospitals, under the fire of war and famine, in the white ambulance, under the red light and siren song. They come at the ocean's lip, in the valley's cradle. Let them come with halo hair and soft eyes shining. Divine Mother, sweet protectoress, shelter each foundling in the house of your infinite kindness, in the womb of your joyous mystery. Holy Mary, Mother of God, teach us thy trade. That is how they pray. In the book, you will not hear it that way, because they're always interrupting each other. They want to add a new line. they're spiritual creatives. So that's just for tonight, for the nativity reading. And also, I have gifts. Everyone who buys a book, and people who've already bought a book, be sure and take one of these cards. They come in the green envelope. It's the Litany of the Infants. I have shortened it just a wee bit so it looked pretty on the card. So, presents, and then there's more presents. These come with an obligation. You can't have one unless you're willing to put it on your car. But they will match your Beto stickers. So there's that, and I will entertain a few questions if you have any. Okay. You can email me if something occurs to you.
Okay.
I'm Queen of Spain at msn.com. Isabella, Queen of Spain. Okay.